I'm a famous crybaby in the entertainment industry, but I was forced to participate in a horror variety show. The audience and colleagues were all waiting to see my joke. Little did they know that I was actually an M-level horror fanatic. So I cried, rode my motorbike like flying, sang loudly, and brazenly rushed straight into the haunted house. Even the cold emperor was scared and helped me into his arms. I sobbed, wrapping my arms around his broad shoulders. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. I'm here. Unemployed for half a year, I finally got a variety show, but the bad news was that it was a horror variety show. Only the manager is worried and restless. Absolutely do not hear that the guests participating this time must sign a liability waiver agreement. She offered the agreement but hesitated, speechless. She knows this is a pioneering domestic horror variety show, heavily invested in bringing a realistic feeling to viewers. And I'm a famous crybaby saint in the entertainment world. Even when performing the cable hanging scene, I cried. During the interview, if the host's voice was just a little too loud, I would cry. Even just an insect crawling over me can make my eyes turn red. They all scolded me for pretending and acting deep, but I really felt very unjust. I have had a tear disorder since childhood. Just being a little emotional makes you unable to control your tears. Actually, crying while hanging the cable was because the prop staff did not operate it correctly. I'm arguing. Crying during an interview is because the reporter asked a random question. I'm arguing back. Obviously, I am both strong and tough, but because of a tear disorder, I speak reason and shed tears at the same time. So the momentum immediately decreased by half. I remember when I was little, an older brother and I had a conflict in the yard. I couldn't control my tears. As a result, he cried and threw him to the ground. Then his parents arrived. Seeing me crying like rain, he thought I was being bullied, so he beat his son. I was labeled a coward. Whenever something happens, I cry. Until I entered the entertainment industry, I asked the company to correct me, but the company did not care at all. Even feeling the label of crybaby saint attached to my body is quite interesting. Over time, in everyone's eyes, I became like that. Angry. I just know how to be angry. Seeing that I didn't answer, Ms. Vong tentatively said, "Let's stop it. The liability waiver agreement is not meant to scare people. I heard that this variety show is very realistic. What if something really happened on the show? Well, let's just refuse and be the part of being a mobile flower vase." Looking at my innocent face, she was completely discouraged. But before I could withdraw the agreement, I picked up the pen and signed my name. It's okay, I can do it. What they didn't know was that even though I cried a lot, I was a level 10 horror fanatic. The variety show quickly went off the air. Gathering time is 0 the next day. The location is a deserted cemetery with few passers-by to create a realistic feeling. The program is broadcast live online using hidden cameras. They even hid guest information until the new broadcast appeared one after another. Not only is there the rising movie emperor Deep Luong then, but there is also horror movie queen Du Hu. She is famous for her innate ability to be stubborn. Last time, in the horror-filled room, everyone was scared, clutching their heads and running away. She can still calmly do her duty. According to the program team's calculations, the 6 guests will be arranged as 3 brave people and 3 cowards. The audience is not curious what the brave person will do, but curious how the cowardly person will cry. Netizens' expectations are also gradually increasing. The identities of the guests are also gradually revealed. Martial arts star Chi Hao, Man of Steel Thursday Bach, retired athlete Kwang Vu Tone are strong and courageous people. Netizens also couldn't help but wonder. Even though the horror element is the main element, but inviting all the brave people, what other effects will the show have? There were also people who objected, thinking the opposite. Those who came were all brave people. This show is definitely scary. Just when the whole world was waiting impatiently, I drove a slow convoy into everyone's sight. The car window rolled down, and my face gradually appeared before the public eye. Netizens immediately exploded. Haha, the crybaby is here. No wonder the program team invited 5 brave people, but it turned out to be a blockbuster. I can't see the comments, but I can guess how shocked the internet is right now. Anyway, in the 5 pairs of eyes in front of me, I saw surprise at different levels. Did the program team make a mistake? Why does this kind of program let you come? Du Hu stepped forward and pulled open the car door, stretched her neck to look inside, and confirmed that I was alone. She frowned and muttered, "Isn't this causing more trouble for us? This program requires group coordination to complete the task." It was clear to everyone that she thought I didn't fit the group's standards. Faced with Du Hu's questioning, I felt a bit angry. Luckily, after half a year of self-adjusted unemployment, I was in control. Briefly say, "The program has started. Please go to the mission location now." But Du Hu shouted exaggeratedly, "No. Are you really participating? I'm just afraid you can't stand it. Don't cry." This scream makes my head hurt. I was about to open my mouth to refute, but I was afraid that if I couldn't control it, I would actually cry. Just when I couldn't help myself, Deep Luong then remained silent and suddenly sat in the passenger seat. "She won't cry. Don't delay anymore. Get in the car." I was a bit stunned. Is Deep Luong then speaking for me? He had a high status in the group. Seeing him in action, everyone got on the bus too. Du Hu glanced at me, then suddenly pulled the car door and said to me, "Hu Duan, are you timid or should I drive?" It's so self-indulgent. I immediately refused. "You sit in the back. Driving is the task assigned to me by the program team." Du Hu was pushed like that. Her face immediately darkened. Okay. I'll sit behind you, don't cry." As if I bullied you. Since joining the program until now, I feel like I have very good control, but Du Hu keeps trying to label me. Every sentence points towards that direction. In the end, Du Hu was still sitting in the back seat. But along the way, she still didn't forget to tease me. "Jiang Tu Duan, your company really doesn't care about your life. Because of the crime, any vaudeville worm will accept it for you. Wait a moment inside. If you're really so scared that you can't walk, just let Kwong brother carry you." Du Hu said, then looked at Kwong Vu behind him. He is a retired athlete with a muscular body. Kwong brother was very enthusiastic. Hearing that, he patted his chest and assured, "Okay, no problem." Du Hu seemed to defend me on the outside, but she cleverly labeled me and Kwong Vu into a group. Once inside, we can easily group up with the rest of the group. You have more heart. After all, you are not like me. She hadn't finished her sentence yet, but her eyes didn't need words to understand. I looked at her in the rearview mirror. She was a 1,000-year fox in the entertainment industry. Who would play tricks here? Unexpectedly, Thursday Bach was strange and continued. "It's the 21st century. Is Kyo the literature still popular?" There really is, but his company is my competitor. Of course it won't look good on me. Two people, one worthy, one unfortunate. I was annoyed when I heard it and was about to refute it when suddenly the car's safety system started going crazy. This car is a new smart car. The most special feature is the safety system that can automatically avoid surrounding pedestrians. At this time, issuing an alarm is proof that there are people around. But in this remote and desolate place, besides our car, where could we find people? Following the car's continuous beeping sound, the entire cabin fell into a strange silence. This is the program effect. Saw Thursday Bach tentatively asked a question. The location where the car lights don't shine is pitch black. Even though we knew it might be a program effect, the creepy atmosphere still quickly spread throughout the car cabin, especially on the car's tablet screen. On both sides, people continuously passed by. The audience in front of the screen also started a heated discussion. Doing this in the middle of the night scared me to death. Did you see that? Chi Hao was so scared that he cowered. Midnight, 12:30, driving at the cemetery, surrounded by people. Can the program team do more? But just when they were waiting for what the program team would do next, the car suddenly braked suddenly. Du Hu couldn't help but scream. "Jiang Tu Duan, do you know how to drive? It's late at night. Do you want to scare someone to death?" I turned my head and replied quietly. The car brakes automatically, and now the car is stalled. Immediately, the whole car fell silent in a long silence. I tried starting it many times, but the car still wouldn't budge. Have you heard? At the cemetery, if the car suddenly stops, get out and say a few words to ask for permission. That way you can pass smoothly. Thursday Bach spoke again. Abandoned eyes. Or find someone to come down and try. Seeing no one answered, he rubbed his hands and looked towards Chi Hao in the back seat. Chi Hao always tried to reduce his presence, expressionless, then moved to the next seat. Ha ha ha, martial arts star Chi Hao's image is shattered. Does no one see that Thursday Bach is fake? Chi Hao is cowardly, but at least he doesn't brag. People like him do nothing but incite others. Isn't Du Hugh the queen of tough guys? But just now she screamed the loudest. Zhang Duan still hasn't spoken up yet, right? The stream of comments went by, and some people noticed. From beginning to end, I appeared very calm, like a caper-bearer who always keeps his emotions stable. Even after a few stalls, turn your head to look at the back seat. Or I should go down for a ride. Maybe it was because she couldn't bear to let a woman like me take the risk of getting out of the car, or maybe it was to save face for herself. Thursday Bach staggered down, walked to the front of the car, and checked back and forth for a while, but the results were of no use. Next, Chi Hao also got out of the car. Next is Kuang Vu. 3 people, each with their own opinion, talking haphazardly, each practicing their own form. It went on like that for 10 minutes. The car still couldn't start. Du Hugh curled up in a chair, her face pale and trembling. As for Deep Luong then, he tried to contact the program team. Comments exploded. Some people pretend to be busy. Some people are so scared that they can't even pretend. At this moment, a boom was heard in the darkness. The 3 men held their heads and knelt down. Du Hugh screamed and cried loudly in the chaotic scene. I stepped out from behind the car, in everyone's terrified eyes. The car is out of gas. Everything was silent. Tens of thousands of netizens burst out laughing. The program team is too cruel. A car ran out of gas halfway and got stuck in the cemetery. The horror effect was pushed to the climax. Save them. I see those 3 men are about to break. If Zhang Duan had spoken a little later, those 3 men would have kowtowed to the ancestors blocking the way. I'm about to switch from being an anti to a fan of Zhang Duan. She's acting very rationally. Furthermore, she hasn't cried out of fear yet. On the contrary, Du Hugh is extremely stubborn. She's been screaming like a mole all night. It's so annoying. I have unfollowed Du Hugh. Unexpectedly, the show lost half of its fans as soon as it started. But she also realized she was overreacting, especially when she heard me react calmly. Her expression darkened as she suddenly rushed in front of me and questioned me. You're the driver. Didn't you know the car ran out of gas? Did you already discuss it with the program team? Deliberately embarrassing us and losing our image, highlighting your calmness. Du Hugh was angry. Her voice also increased a bit. Thursday Bach also followed suit. At this point, I couldn't bear it anymore. Obviously, the program team screwed up. I was just about to make an excuse, but suddenly the familiar feeling of stinging in my nose came back. The more you rush, the more uncontrollable you become. The more uncontrollable, the more speechless. As a result, Du Hugh saw this and became even more aggressive. Don't cry about anything, okay? It's so annoying. If you feel angry, then explain. Are you feeling guilty like that? I remained silent and did not speak. This damned tear-prone constitution cannot be agitated. Whenever you get excited, your face turns red and your mind goes blank. What makes me even more headache is that now I look like this, which further confirms my crybaby image. Not related to her. Trick of the program team. Deep Luong then does not know when he disappeared. Now the delicate face appeared again under the moonlight, cold as ice. I don't know if it was because someone helped me or not. It was as if my meridians had been cleared. I took a deep breath, put my hands on my hips, and shouted loudly at the bewildered Du Hugh. Netizen comments are renewed. Ha ha ha. Zhang Duan, are you angry? Zhang Duan is so cute. If it were me, I would also be angry. I helped you, but as a result you doubted me. If it weren't for her, those brothers would still be worshipping everywhere. I don't know if the online comments listened to Deep Luong Dance words. People didn't say anything anymore. The program's regulations must arrive at the mission point before dawn. According to the navigation, we were still a few dozen miles away from the mission point. The car's out of gas now. If we walk there, we're afraid we'll die on the road. Just when we were at a loss and didn't know what to do, Deep Luong then, expressionless, walked up and gave. I held a bunch of car keys and spoke in a low voice. The program team has a motorbike in front. Everyone was happy to realize that as soon as Deep Luong then disappeared, he went to explore the front. Netizens all praised Deep Luong then for being both masculine and handsome. Only Du Hugh saw the interaction between Deep Luong then and me and couldn't help but exclaim, Mr. Luong then, since you saw a motorbike, why didn't you drive straight here? Thursday Bach and the other 2 people were also bewildered. Deep Luong then has a cold temperament. When not talking, He gives off the feeling that no one dares to come close. Everyone looked at Deep Luong then. The atmosphere became heavy, making everyone doubt whether they said something wrong. Immediately after that, under everyone's attention, Deep Luong then turned away and said briefly, "I don't know how to drive a motorbike." I looked at everyone in shock. They also shook their heads and said they didn't know how to drive a motorbike. So I'm the only one who knows how to drive a motorbike. Du Hu felt it was unfair when she saw the car. She even set a hook, saying that she and the program team didn't discuss it in advance. Everything seemed to be specially prepared for her. Even during the live broadcast, her jealous expression was not hidden at all. I calmed down and stepped into the car decisively. "If you don't want to get in the car, just walk." Du Hu reluctantly got in the car. In fact, the program team's intention was to say it was a motorbike, but it was actually a three-wheeled vehicle with a trunk, modified in the dead of night at a cemetery. Driving a funny three-wheeled vehicle alone, carrying 5 people, the contrast is pushed to a climax. I didn't know that a series of my actions caused the program team's midnight live broadcast to achieve high viewership ratings. As we got closer to our destination, netizens finally discovered. Am I not mistaken? Wasn't this place very famous before? Did a few people die in a row in an abandoned house? Netizens discovered our group. There were also people who discovered it and turned around immediately. "I won't go anymore. Is the program team crazy, daring to go to such an unlucky place?" Du Hu was the first to shout. Chi Hao and Thursday Bok crowded into the trunk of the car, afraid to jump out. Luckily, Chi Hao held it so it didn't overturn the car. "Are you crazy? Move haphazardly. What if the car overturns?" Kwangvu couldn't help but snorted. At this time, we arrived in front of the villa. The large gate is full of rust, open on both sides. Vines wrap around the old garden, with overgrown weeds. The outer wall is patchy, looking desolate and dreary. A cold wind blew and Du Hu burst into tears. "I'm not going anywhere." I frowned and looked at her with suspicious eyes. This villa once had a family massacre. From then on, those who moved in could not avoid death. It's strange that it's a real haunted house. There's no use inviting monks to perform the ceremony. It's just abandoned like that. Thursday Bok spoke up to explain. In his heart, he also didn't want to go in. Participating in the program is to make money, not to lose your life. If he had known that the program team would make such arrangements, he would not have come no matter how much the remuneration was. Hearing Thursday Bok explain like that, everyone's faces became ugly. The program must continue. So, under the witness of all netizens, my face expressionless, I stepped on the gas pedal, blew the wind, and carrying a car of people crashed into the fence. Meanwhile, continuous screaming could still be heard. To create a horror atmosphere, the program team recreated the crime scene at a scale of 1M. At this time, the recording that the program team had prepared in advance sounded. The convention required everyone to complete the tasks in the haunted house to be able to retreat safely. The first task is to play a 4-corner game in the victim's room. People stood in the 4 corners of the room, then took turns patting the shoulder of the person in front. When you get to a corner where there's no one there, there's a flower sound, repeating over and over again. Because the whole process takes place in a dark environment, you basically won't know if the person in front is really your teammate. As soon as this mission was announced, netizens simultaneously took a cold breath. As soon as I entered, there was such great intensity. The program team was so evil. I heard that before filming began, the program team signed a liability agreement with each guest. This is truly reckless play, compared to netizens watching a drama. At this time, we gathered outside the door with different expressions. Du Hu quickly said, for people, please come in quickly." Thursday Bok was the first to object. "Why? It's not that I'm afraid. It's that my balance is not good. If I go there, it will affect the mission. After all, among us, the calmest person is Zhang Tuduan." I nodded in agreement, without any comments. But at this time, Du Hu, who initially did not want to participate, suddenly asked to also participate in the game. Netizens watching live couldn't help but wonder. Didn't Du Hu not dare to participate? Why did you suddenly agree to participate? Don't you realize she deliberately chose the position in front of Deep Luong then? Maybe I want to wait until later to rush into his arms to pair up. Du Hu did not know that, in the hearts of netizens, she had lost points. When she entered the room, she avoided the camera and looked at me provocatively. I didn't pay attention, but when I got into position, Kwangvu stood behind me and said kindly, "If you're really scared, you can stay where you are and I'll go instead of you." At this point, I could only nod nervously because I felt my tear-prone constitution was about to relapse. If you cry now, you will definitely be ridiculed. The mission quickly begins. As each person advanced in the dark room, there was only the sound of each other's breathing. Behind me is Kwang Vu. In front is Deep Luong then. The first few rounds were uneventful, perhaps due to the lack of visibility, the darkness magnifying the senses. When I once again walked behind Deep Luong then, I could clearly feel the warmth from his body. When he raised his hand, he suddenly whispered to me, "There's someone else in the room." As expected, the program team will not let us off easily. At this moment, Du Hu suddenly shouted. Someone pulled my hair. On the other side was Kwang Vu's surprised voice. Du Hu, haven't you come to me already? Next, the atmosphere became strange. Not even breathing was heard. Faced with extreme fear, people cannot move. Even Du Hu's sobbing could be heard. "I don't want to play anymore," she said chokingly. According to the rules, no matter what happens, you must persevere in playing all 8 rounds. Otherwise, the locked door will not open. At this time, kind-hearted Kwang Vu did not dare to continue speaking. The image stopped, but the live broadcast continued. "Kind Kwang Vu, why don't you continue talking? Don't criticize him." "I don't dare either, but Du Hu is too cowardly. Don't you often act in horror movies? Why didn't we say anything while looking at our Tu Duan throughout the entire process? Doesn't anyone see that Luong then is also very masculine? The mood is stable. Can it be a little faster? Watch the performers breathe here, while netizens wait impatiently in the dark." On the soft opening, a familiar melody resounds, the Nia Dung Quan marching song. My eloquent voice, steady rhythm, almost immediately caused a wave of comments across the internet. Can the national anthem still be used like this? Is there anything else we don't know about our baby Tu Duan? I declare, from today onwards, I am a crazy fan of Tu Duan. My top-notch manipulation left the NPCs who had mixed into the room stunned. As soon as the national anthem sounded, the ghost NPC retreated, quietly leaving the secret tunnel to the broadcast room. Asked the director, "Next step?" The director's face was also full of surprise. Who would have thought my actions would be so great? Looking at the horror atmosphere changed by the national anthem, after thinking about it, the director decided to arrange the NPC of the next round to appear early. We don't know the program team's plan, but thanks to my adjustment, the game can continue. However, right in the middle of the 7th round, the locked door suddenly opened. Then a masked man, wielding an electric saw, appeared at the door. The show is even crazier than I thought. The masked man in front of him was a complete copy of the killer. When starting the electric saw, there is even a deafening sound of electricity. Next, the scene became chaotic. Not to mention Hu. Even the men were scared, clutching their heads and running away, hugging each other and crying. Thursday Bach was even immediately scared, rolling down the stairs completely out of character, crying and wanting to go home. As a result, as soon as he raised his head, he saw the body on the ground rolling and writhing in the dark, crawling towards him on all fours. Oh, before watching it live, I felt sorry for the program team. After watching the variety show, I felt that I really loved the guests too much. The room escape game is fake. This haunted house is real. Just now that dead body gave me goosebumps. Upstairs, stop talking. I'm already under the blanket. Don't look at others. Just look at our baby Zhang Tu Duan. That's right. She is the god who governs the horror variety worms. Netizens laughed at the guest for being scared to cry, but at the same time, they did not forget to praise me for being so calm. Even Kwang Vu and Taehao were cowering on either side of me, 6-foot-tall men who just wanted to crawl into my arms like a child. And Luong then stood in front of me, protecting us, retreating like Mount Tai, his face not changing even when he collapsed. In the chaotic scene, the two of us were like two indomitable evergreen trees. Netizens said, "Let the two do a separate episode. I want to see the brave couple conquer the depths of horror variety." Finally, Du Hu saw a head hanging upside down from the ceiling fan, like a spider monster, completely collapsed, sitting on the ground. Transparent liquid flows out from under the short skirt. In just a second, the live broadcast was cut off, falling into a black screen. Du Hu was threatened and peed her pants. This caused the program team to panic. All their horror effects were aimed at me. But unexpectedly, I was completely motionless. On the contrary, Du Hu became the one to bear the burden for me. I'm really sorry. We just wanted to create the most realistic horror atmosphere. Because of the viewership ratings, the general director does not care about the viewership ratings increasing. Each level requested to stop the program and personally apologize to Du Hu. The obsequious look caused the eyes of several surrounding guests to change. Which character is Du Hu? Thursday Bach was so scared that she fell down the stairs. The program team did not ask to stop, nor did they ask. Yet now it is the largest investor in this program. Her family name is Du. Du Hu is a young lady. I stood next to him and listened to these words, my expression a bit strange. As far as I know, my father only has me as a daughter. While I was wondering, I saw the general director's face expressionless, walking towards me, opening his mouth and speaking arrogantly. Later on the show a little fear. It's best to cry for me. The show's director aimed for a realistic effect, intentionally making people cry. Is it contrary to the original purpose of the program? Kwang Vu, standing next to him, couldn't help but speak. This is just a program effect. Moreover, Zhang Tuduan is famous for being a coward in the world. That's right. Just a girl is calmer than us generals pretending to be real. Actually, Du Hu's reaction is normal. Two people, one singing and one singing, said to help Du Hu. I'm very angry inside. It's not just a variety show, but an acting competition. I was just about to refuse when I saw Ms. Vong lean closer and whisper in my ear to advise me. Enough of the excitement. Quickly end the filming. Today you can pack up and go home. What's more important than a salaryman being able to go home? Thinking of this, I nodded absent-mindedly. The director was satisfied and withdrew his gaze. Apure continues filming. But he didn't expect that. Mentioning me was like kicking cotton. I was very cooperative, and the next filming session could be said to have devoted all my life's acting talent. The next day, the show absolutely exploded. Made top 3. Looking for Zhang Tuduan's sister. Please help me. How can it be so funny? How could Zhang Tuduan face the NPC without changing his expression like that? Even her bewildered expression was 3 seconds late. Our program will terminate the contract before the deadline. The atmosphere was terrifyingly silent. I didn't say a word. Strangely enough, I wasn't agitated at all, and even felt particularly calm. He raised his eyebrows and looked at everyone in front of him for a moment, then asked everyone again, "Are you sure, director?" Having said that, I was also very hesitant. I'm very famous, but personally, the above has the biggest sponsor of the program. Thinking of this, the director could only say to me, "Don't blame us. You don't know anything about the power of capitalism." Very well, I agree, I replied. With them being ignorant of the power of capital, I was banned from the air after being forced to leave the show. The program team madly smeared me. They said I was arrogant, uncooperative, etc., all kinds of bad behavior, so they forced me to leave the show in the second episode. But netizens are very wise. Even Thursday Bach and Tae Hao from the same season spoke up to defend me. Netizens all mocked at the same time. Is it wrong? When people are a little famous, they force them to leave the show. Isn't that just stealing Miss Du's glory? Who is this woman? Our boy Bao Zhang Tuduan is just a little calmer, a little cuter. Strongly opposed. Who is she? I heard that Miss Du is a rich young lady. A few times ago, those who stole her glory basically didn't have a good ending. Why are we poor Tuduan? It was difficult for us to gain a bit of fame, becoming a sacrifice for the capitalists. Kwang Vu and Luong then are really men. They were the only ones who helped our Tuduan. Otherwise, we would have withdrawn from the program. Netizens are upset on my behalf, but the show itself has hot content. Even though they were cursed badly, the number of people registered to watch the show's second season was nearly 100 million. Du Hu was very excited about this. Even before the second season was about to start, specifically called me. She said on the other end of the phone, if I'm willing to kneel down and apologize to her, she will give me another chance to participate in the second season of the show. I don't want to participate, I replied calmly. Zhang Tuduan, then don't blame me for being hungry. You have to understand clearly. In this world, dragons have no future. Her tone was arrogant. Then I hung up. I also quite agree with her. In the entertainment world, it is very difficult for dragons to raise their heads. Unfortunately, I'm not. I'm the Vajra that you can't shake. The show's second season was canceled because investors withdrew their capital. The director went crazy, was scolded by netizens, scolded by the company, scolded by guests. He cried and grabbed Do Hyu's shirt and asked, "Why did your father withdraw capital? Please help the program team and say a few words." Do Hyu's expression was unsightly, like swallowing a fly. "My father is not a billionaire." Do Hyu's answer was like a meteor hammer, making the director dizzy. "My father Mac too is not a billionaire, but Uncle Do is the patriarch from the same village as me. I will go and beg him. Maybe he will respect me and cancel the withdrawal of capital." Do Hyu was stared at to the point of losing face and stubbornly said, "When Do Hyu led the director into my house, I was wearing a nightgown, holding a watermelon, coming down from upstairs." Our eyes met. Do Hyu's face changed like a rainbow. "No wonder the show was canceled. It turned out you were bad at it." She whispered into Uncle Do's ear, "You little brat, you're so shameless." It seemed she had noticed, pointing at me and scolding me. My eyelids twitched. Being slandered like that, the top of my head was smoking. I threw the watermelon in my hand and opened my mouth to scold her. "Miss, you're talking nonsense. This is my house. You're the third child. Your whole family is dead. In a situation where I need to be strong, I can't control my emotions. Are you scared? Are you worried? Now I will broadcast live to let netizens nationwide see how bad you are." Do Hyu quickly removed the gauze. Without waiting for my reaction, she turned on her phone to broadcast live, impatiently. "Dear friends, now I finally understand why the second season of our show was canceled. It turns out it was all because of Jang Tae-duan's bad behavior. She is the third child of the biggest investor of our show. Our director was very straightforward, forcing her to leave the show. She held a grudge in her heart, as expected of Jang Tae-duan. Jang Tae-duan is the billionaire's third child. I testify. This place is the property of the billionaire, the third child. But dare to come to someone's house. Doesn't the billionaire's wife care?" Switched from fan to anti. At first I thought she was a victim. Who knows, she was even more carefree than I was. Do Hyu has charisma. As soon as the live stream opened, the number of people in the room quickly exceeded 1,000. I clenched my fists, standing on the stairs, my eyes red from anger at Do Hyu's drama. I let out a roar. The maid saw that the situation was not good and quickly ran to chase people away. "You're the third child? You have the audacity to walk into the house and act like an eldest lady. You're here. Mrs. Do probably doesn't even know. Look at your flirtatious foxy appearance. Today I have to represent the women in this world like your sister." Do Hyu spoke very eloquently. The director showed an awkward expression. Just when the situation was tense and gradually chaotic, a clear female voice rang out. "What are you doing in my house?" Do Hyu switched lenses. A beautiful middle-aged woman appeared before tens of millions of netizens. Someone recognized it as the billionaire's wife. Do Hyu, of course, will not miss this opportunity. Immediately ran to denounce the billionaire's wife. "Aunt Do, I am Uncle Do's niece. If I hadn't come here, I wouldn't have discovered that Jang Tae-duan dared to seduce Uncle Do, acting like a third party. Jang Tae-duan not only seduced your husband, but also whispered on the pillow that made Uncle Do withdraw from the variety show. It's too much." Do Hyu spoke in a sweet voice, and my mood immediately calmed down when I saw someone coming. Crossing my arms over my chest, I quietly watched her act. I miscalculated. I felt like there was going to be a big battle. It is said that the furniture in this house is all Qianlong period antiques. I feel sorry for the billionaire. I must say that the billionaire's wife is very beautiful. The woman's eyes turned red after hearing this. That reaction made Do Hyu secretly happy, intending to add fuel to the fire, but right after that, a slap landed on her face. "Who allowed you to slander my daughter and husband? Who are you to dare come to my house to scold my daughter? I will report to the police and find a lawyer to sue you." My mother scolded and cried. I inherited the tendency to cry easily from my mother. Looking at the chaotic scene before my eyes, I smiled bitterly. Do Hyu really has a short brain. Having been in the entertainment industry for so many years without being beaten to death, she is truly lucky. After Do Hyu's drama, My identity as the billionaire's young lady was completely exposed. My parents love each other very much. I take my mother's last name. My entry into the entertainment industry was just a temporary spur of the moment. My parents are also very open-minded, not stopping me from improving myself. I hid my identity, but now I've turned my cards up and don't pretend anymore. Du Hu will also be completely murdered by the entertainment industry. Previously, her career in the entertainment industry was smooth sailing. It was all because she impersonated my identity, making the producers and investors think she was the billionaire's daughter, that she was able to advance like a meteorite. Now, the matter has been revealed. In the past, the people she borrowed her powerful identity from were taking crazy revenge. Without any capital, he quickly disappeared from the entertainment industry. Later, it was said that she was in Southeast Asia doing private striptease for wealthy businessmen. But these things have nothing to do with me. The program team and the company both came to beg. I hope I will be generous enough to let go of the past to participate in the program. I thought for a bit and agreed to replace my father and become an investor in the program. Plan the program team, rebuild the variety show's content, change from the brainless horror genre to a brainless detective variety show, and at the same time popularize knowledge about science and law. The variety show had just aired and was immediately shared by Du's mother. I still participate in variety shows, and sometimes I still can't control my crying, but Luong then always helps me relieve it. He understands me so much that even netizens feel sorry for him. Gradually, my couple and Luong then were pushed by everyone. Until one time, I really couldn't help it, so I avoided the camera to ask Luong then. Why do I feel like we've known each other for years? Have we known each other before? I asked honestly, thinking back to the past. I really have no impression of Luong then's face. In theory, no. Luong then glanced at me. Only later did it become difficult for him to speak. Do you remember at Diamond Lake, the person you pushed down on the ground and beat her, then her biological parents beat her again? I have big eyes. So there are literally hundreds of thousands of raindrops falling. Not a single drop falls in the wrong place.